Tomas was a hard-working farmer. His vines produced the best grapes of any vineyard around. It is the soil which has been tilled for years, he told people if they asked him his secret. Other times he said, Mexico's sun gives the grapes no choice but to grow large and juicy. Over the years, Tomas's stories became more inventive, but Tomas knew why his grapes were the best. Generations of hard work had kept the land plentiful. Hard work was something Tomas knew well, but his sons, Eduardo, Miguel, and Luis, were the three laziest boys in all of Mexico.
Stop for a moment and think about who the most important character of the story is so far. Who do you think the most important character is? What are some other characters that will also be important in the story? Let's continue reading.
While their parents tilled the earth under the hot afternoon sun, the boys slept. As the sun bent toward evening, the brothers rose. They stumbled into the kitchen. They filled their plates with eggs and tortillas. By nightfall, they were wide awake. Soon they were off to the village to sing and dance until morning. Tomas worried about the land. What would happen once he and his wife Maria were too old to work? Their sons showed no interest in the vines. Once Tomas had asked the boys to walk through the vineyard with him. He again told them about their ancestors bringing the vines from Spain. These vines tell our family's story, Tomas said, but he knew his words were lost on the boys. The farm's success was not as exciting as last night's fiesta.
Stop for a moment and think about what the most important detail is at the beginning of the story. This will help us sequence our story from the beginning, the middle, to the end. Which of these options do you think is the most important key detail in the beginning of the story? Let's continue reading.
One afternoon under the calabash tree, Tomas brought his worries to Maria. What can we do? Tomas asked. The vines will perish unless the boys learn to plow the earth.
Stop and think. What is the main problem in the story? Let's continue our story.
Maria knew the boys valued a warm night under the stars. Why would they want to work in the heat of the day? There must be a way to get the boys to plow, Maria said. Let's brainstorm ideas to find one that will work. Each day, Tomas and Maria sat under the calabash tree and talked over their problem. One day, when it seemed no original ideas would ever come to them, a gourd fell from the tree. Maria picked up the gourd. Turning it in her hands, she remembered something that had worked in the past. Of course, Tomas, said Maria, the boys need a purpose, a real reason for doing something. Last year, Luis could not find his gourd drum. His room was a mess. His clothes were lying all around. It was not possible to find his bed, much less a small gourd drum. The only way to find his drum was to clean his room. And did he? Asked Tomas. Maria smiled. He did. Once he had it cleaned, Luis found his great treasure buried under a pile of shirts. Tomas thought about this. Maria, he said after a while, what if the boys believe a treasure is buried in the vineyard? Would they dig to find it? I think that's just the motivation they need, Maria said.
How did Maria and Tomas solve their problem? What ideas did they come up with? Let's continue reading.
The next day, Tomas told his sons he had been keeping a secret. When our ancestors brought the vines to this land, they also brought a great treasure. I believe it is buried in the vineyard. For years I have tilled the earth to find it. We will be rich beyond belief once it is found." Right away, his sons declared they would help Tomas find the treasure.
Now I'd like you to think about what the most important event is in the middle of the story. How does this event help them solve their problem? Let's continue reading the story.
Many happy seasons passed with the family digging together in the vineyard. The sons were amazed each year to see the big, juicy grapes. Even more, they were thrilled by the wealth the crop had brought them. One day, long after the farmer's sons had taken over the vineyard, Luis asked his brothers, "Have we found the great treasure yet?" The three brothers began to laugh. They had forgotten that they were digging to find treasure. Yet all their hard work made them realize that their vineyard was a treasure.
Lastly, let's think about the most important event that happens at the end of the story.